So I started 1.5 years ago to do this body of work pixel collage. The interest is the growing pixelisation in the medias, in the TVs, all over. So pixel collage are collages, like the title says. It's collages between two elements. First, two elements. One, an advertising of a fashion magazine, and another picture, another printed matter. I call printed matter then. Another outcoming of my computer. I printed in my home, in my studio, a computer picture of a destroyed human body. So I glued together these two elements. I decided to pixelize a part of the whole collage. The pixels build a bridge between the two elements, and also that the pixels open a space, an abstract space in order to reach what happened on this collage. I see in the medias, I see of course, that there is the authority who pixelized. It's the Ministry of Defense, it's the Ministry of Interior, it's the media, it's perhaps the opinion who pixelize. It's always the worst is pixelized, yes? In a picture, the worst is pixelized. That's I'm interested in. I'm interested that in the pictures I see in the medias who are pixelized or partly pixelized, that there is a gain of authenticity. It's like that a banal picture which has pixels inside get more authentic than without pixels. I am interested also in pixelization because the aesthetic of pixelization, that sometimes there is no more value of information in the picture, it's just an aesthetic. So the question is why to show the pixel who is completely pixelized. I am interested in the pixelization I see in the medias because it's always a decision from somebody to pixel this part or this part of the picture. So there are different points I'm interested in the pixelization. One is of course also, and not the least, the abstraction, the degree of abstraction, which is sometimes very high, sometimes less in the pixel. And by the way, this is also my interest in the abstraction in the medias that I see in abstraction is also the link to my pixels, how I try to reach the pixels with the abstraction. Therefore, I'm interested myself in my practice as an artist to use the pixels. I use them, of course, not to hidden the worst, because this is always already done. And by the way, I don't know what is the worst. So therefore, in my collages, I don't hide the worst part, but I use actually myself the pixels as abstraction, as a possibility, as I said, through the pixels to ask the abstraction, to ask the question of the abstraction today. How abstract is a picture today? How I can, with abstraction, reach or confront reality. And therefore, I thought the pixels are an interesting form to work as an artist with. So I'm not interested in the technique of pixelization, I mean the technology of pixels. In my pixel collage, it's always myself who, with a cutter in the end, cuts the pixels, because I want that it is clear that this is a decision, what is to pixelize and what is not to pixelize. Therefore, I'm interested in the political power of a pixel and not in the technological outcome of a pixel. It's hypocrite, the use of pixels, and completely anarchist, because nobody knows, there is no law to say this must be pixelized or not. There is a kind of doxa who says that maybe somebody could be hurt by something, therefore somebody pixelize it. Or maybe there will be a process or a suit after, so something has to be pixelized. It's completely unclear. By the way, I'm not criticizing that it is unclear. I'm interested, by the way, in the fact that it's completely anarchist and unclear why something is pixelized, or after a moment it's pixelized and something not. And also it depends completely to the medias. It depends completely also to the where the medias are situated. I mean, geographically in the world, you know, in some culture pixels are used much more than in other cultural environments. So I'm interested in this, also in this kind of no rules in a way, you know, because to me it is related to the facelessness, the time of facelessness we are living in. Our face, which is the only, or I think the main point of contact with the other, with the community, with the world, my own face. Somebody else than me takes over the power on it to be shown to the world. Or even myself, I insist on the right of my own face or my own picture that I have from myself. I think they are very complex thematic, and I'm interested in this complexity of this facelessness we are living in. People are, I think, one of the main problems I see that people don't think, and by the way, and this is my work about, don't look for their own. They don't use their own eyes. They're always thinking what the other sees or what the other should think or could think. So, by the way, it's also, I think, the phenomenon of victimization. For example, somebody who pixelized something of me, for me, in order to say, you have not to look on it, it's too gruesome, in a way he took away my own sensitivity. And he puts me in a victim situation that I could be a victim of a picture. And I'm also interested in this because, you know, what is gruesome today is that all this violence happened every moment, every second, every day, every month, every year, and not that we have to look on it. And I think there is a lot of hypocrisy inside. And therefore, I am interested in this, and to do this work, and I see it like also, of course, a try to interrogate the question, and also to insist on that people should be enough emancipated and to look with their eyes to the reality of our world we are living in. I mean, pixelization is a form of a problem. I mean, my problem as an artist is to give form, to have a position, and my position is, of course, the one of an artist who thinks art is universal. Art has no borders. Art should open a dialogue and or a confrontation to everybody, from one to one, from eye to eye. I believe it. And I must insist with it. And of course, I know that politicians today, that often the opinion that medias try to make borders, try to avoid contact, try to avoid emancipation and free thinking. And therefore, pixelization is a form of what happened in America, in Europe, all over the world. And I am trying with my work, with these humble pixel collages, I try to give form to what I can't accept, that somebody else can decide for me what I should do, what I should see, what I should think. And therefore, to me, yeah, the pixels is a way to make what is it, an appeal to art, also in their aesthetic and in their power as something abstract, to open the field for interpretation, you know, and not for information. To interpretation, which I mean as a truth, but not as a truth who is to verify by an information, but a truth as such. And therefore, yes, today we are living in these very, I think, complex and difficult times that we have to challenge a lot of very important decisions, and we have to stay strong and faithful. And to me, art helps me. Almost everybody in our world did once a collage when they were younger. And then somebody came and said, hey, you have to be more serious now and get more serious. So, and I like this stupidity, this easiness, this velocity of doing collages. I see my life, I see the life as a possible collage. With the gaps and with the breaks, and also sometimes with the glue, you really need to glue things together, because when you don't glue them together, it doesn't work. You know. So therefore, I like the idea to live my life like a collage. It means to me to create a new world with the existing world, with elements of already the existing world. When I took two pictures of reality, I put them together and tried to create a new point of view. I tried to put a new light on things but using which already is here. I like very much collages. I like also very much collages because it's something with kind of evidence, something also which never really is perfect, which never really works. I mean, I remind collages from the Hannah Höch, beautiful collages, or from the Dadaist or Surrealist. A collage is something already, it's always inside. The collage has already a kind of, it's already broken, and I like this very much. So therefore, yes, to me, a fundament for my work since always was to do collages. Even when I do work in 3 dimensions, I am interested in this spirit of collage, to put existing elements who have nothing to do, put them together, glue them together, make a decision to put them together in order to create a new world, a new vision of the world. The material is very important to me. The question of material is a very important question, because to me, this is political question. I want to use the material everybody knows, everybody relates in their everyday life. I want not to use specific arty materials. I want to use the materials that has no plus-value behind themselves as a material. Therefore, cardboard, tape, photocopies, plastic, whatever. Even here in the pixel collage, I use my home printer, my studio printer, in order to blow up the collages with A3 formats, because the printer does this. And then I glue them together with tape. I want that there is a visibility to the easiness of this way to fabricate. It's not a technical outcome. It's an easy thing. And even the protection, which is this kind of foil, plastic foil, is the foil people use for flowers. You know, you can buy them wherever. And even this, I like to think which material is coherent to just work out my position, to make it clear, which is only necessary, which has no more necessity than to bring the position into a form. And therefore, I'm very interested in the question of material. You know, it's not about perfection, it's about precision of the thinking and of the artistic will. Therefore, the material is very important. Yeah? So the caveman man, with caveman man, I wanted, yes, to give a form to thinking and to the different possibility thinking can go. It's a form of the brain in a moment with all the thinking who comes to me, and the form of it is a real cave, an existing cave, made with wood, cardboard, tape, with a lot of elements which are into this brain. And also, it's a refugium, it's a cave, it's not an architecture. A cave is a natural space who is used by humans to perhaps to live inside or before or in the time, but also perhaps as to hide the thinking, perhaps a thinking you cannot express, or it's not the moment or not the place to express. Therefore, caveman man was a try to give a form to a hidden thinking, but also to the movement of thinking, and also question how the thinking can, in the time, therefore I wanted to use this architectural space like a cave, that there is always the question about the time, you know, the user before, and perhaps the others who thinks the same or the different things or partly the different things. So the question of time is also into the cave. It's the element how to engage with the world. I mean, caveman man is completely a two-dimensional thought, a thought of a collage, but worked out in a three dimension because it's in a gallery space. So it's in 3 dimensions. From the second dimension, just put out in a third dimension. That's the technique which I like to do. I always want that there is no special knowledge to have about how my work exists, how it's done. The non-exclusive audience is in public space, but also in the museum, in the gallery, in the commercial, but also in the museum spaces. It's about how can I engage with the who is not interested in art, who is perhaps my neighbor, who is a passerby, who is a stranger, who has another culture. How engage with these people? And I think very important is, as an artist, that I try, with all kind of decision I took, that my form goes to this kind of public, to the people I don't know, the people who I'm afraid of, perhaps, the people I would not cross. How I engage with this, and not how I engage with the gallerist, the museum director, the art lover already. They are not excluded. Therefore, I call it non-exclusive, because the galleries, the art connoisseur, the art critic, the art historian, the collector, he's not excluded. But what is important that I have to direct my work, not to them. Because when I do this, I'm sure that I left over the non-exclusive audience. Therefore, it's very important that I always want to address to the non-exclusive, not to exclude somebody else, but to open it with the format, with the light I put on my work, with the material, with the technique, with, of course, also what I try to show. So therefore, I always try, this is my big challenge, to address to the non-exclusive audience. 2004, I made a work in public space, was called Musée Précaire Albene. It was made with residents of a city housing project. And the idea was that for 8 weeks, every week, we had an artwork lent by the Centre Pompidou for the residents. And we did organize discussions, talks, openings. So it's important to me to engage myself to positions, to works, to lives I love. It's not so often that I really love something, you know, as an artist. So, but when I really love something, I think it's a good fixing point to say, yes, this I really love, you know, without any criticism and without any stand back. It's also a way as an artist, I think, to be truthful to something myself I can experience, that I'm not an art critique, you know, I'm not an art historian, I'm an artist. So my work comes from love, from passion to do my work, but also from love to art and love to artists. So to me, the lighter is like a souvenir, the only souvenir actually, which I have of this work in public space, which was a precarious work in public space. The 8 artist stands for the 8 artists I could present for 1 week an original artwork. Therefore, the lighter is 8 persons on the lighter. For me, to do art, there is no autobiographical reason or argument to have, not only for me, but also in general. I hate this. Of course, what makes you to be an artist? But I think what I share with all other artists, I think to see it differently, to be an outsider, to don't understand it as like the other or the most of other or only one other. So to see it differently, to feel it differently, and also to have this necessity or this passion or this love to express this difference. To, you know, to do my work, nobody invites me, nobody, asks me, nobody pushes me. The necessity comes from, and my competence, by the way, comes from that I see it differently, but also it's not enough to see it differently, to feel it differently, to understand it differently, and to feel myself as an outsider, as somebody, as a part, but not as a victim, but just as a part. But then also, I needed, and all the life I needed to express this. How can I express that I see it differently? How I can give a form to this? This is what is very important, not only to see it differently and to feel it differently, but then to work on my own and also to feel my own. And that's something I always wanted, even when I was young and not thinking to get an artist. I wanted to express it in a way or in another. I wanted to express this difference. I wanted to express that I see it differently. And this, I think, is very important as an artist. This is from where my competence comes from. I can tell you I feel implicated as a human being, you know, in an artwork. So I felt, wow, something happened which is extraordinary, because it comes not from my education, it comes not from what I learned, it comes not from where I'm born or whatever. It comes through a form. So it hurts me, it implicated me, it addressed me directly, and I was so happy, for example, when I had these encounters. In the Kunsthaus Zürich, I saw 179 die in jet crash. A serigraphy of Andy Warhol. I already was in studies, but it was it was in 1978. But I remember very, very well this artwork, because it is so simple, a serigraphy of Andy Warhol, you know, black and white. It's just a newspaper, by the way. It's a newspaper cover from kind of, I don't remember, an American daily news newspaper, a cover with a black and white photography, and he made a serigraphy of it. And I remember very well physically, I feel completely implicated into it, you know, and that addresses to me so directly. It was a beautiful moment, a happy, a graceful moment of implication, and I said, wow, you know, an artist, he speaks to me so directly through his work. So I felt this is really something very constitutive to me. An artwork can implicate somebody. That's happened to me. Artworks, still today, I'm implicated. I feel implicated, you know, implication. Doesn't it I like it or I think it's whatever, it's just I feel implicated in a way or in another. Perhaps later I feel implicated. It can be a film, it can be music, whatever. Artist does things and then, or a text, I feel implicated in it. You know? Really, that means I feel that I'm one-to-one, but with something who goes behind myself. So therefore, implication is for me the most important. And I would love that somebody, oh Thomas, I feel implicated. You know, in what we are doing or in this work, I feel implicated. It's the most beautiful compliment when somebody says, I feel implicated what you're doing.